Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Acad System free online lesson. Okay, before I get started, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Hakim Hossein, and I'm the BIM specialist with Acad Systems. Okay, so for today's free online lesson, today's topic will be about points in Civil 3D. Okay, so if we look at the definition of points, let's go through the definition first. Basically, points are the most basic thing in Civil 3D. Okay. If you look at the proper definition here, points are basic building blocks in Autodesk Civil 3D. You can use points in land development projects to identify existing ground location and design elements. Okay, and then you also need to understand that points are numbered and named uniquely. It has a certain properties such as northing, easting, elevation, and description. Okay, so in Civil 3D, points are known as COGO points or coordinate geometry points. Okay, which is different from AutoCAD points. Okay, in the normal AutoCAD, they also have points, but it's different where COGO points has all of these northing, easting, elevation, and description properties, unlike AutoCAD points, which only have X, Y, and Z values. Okay. So as you know, Civil 3D is built on the AutoCAD. Okay, so here I have opened up my Civil 3D. Okay, and you will see that the interface are quite similar to AutoCAD, and a lot of the commands are actually similar. Okay, so in AutoCAD, you have a point where if you go to the draw panel, okay, in the draw panel, I believe you'll be familiar with all of these commands. You have lines, polylines, and also points. If I go here, click here, points. Okay, at my cursor, it will ask me to specify a point. So this is the normal AutoCAD points. Okay, but the one that we want to look into today is the COGO point. So how can we create the COGO point? From the Home tab, under the Create Ground Data panel, go to Points, click on it, and click at Point Creation Tools. Okay, and this will bring up a toolbox to create the point. Okay, first I can click at the chevron here. Okay, and then we have a list of parameters of our points. So basically, this is the settings for the default point. Okay, meaning if I don't take a look at this and I just directly create the COGO point, it will apply these values in their parameters. For example, it will be at the default layer, which is V node. Okay, of course I can change it here, and then it has things, other information like default elevations and so on. Okay, so these are the default settings for the COGO point. Okay, I don't want to change the default, so I'll just minimize back the chevron, and I click at this button on the far left. Click on it. You can also click at the arrow and make sure the thing is checked on manual. Okay, because we're gonna do the manual way first. Okay, click here, and then now you bring your cursor to the drawing area. It will ask you to specify a location for the new point. Okay, so I will click, and then it will ask for a point description. For example, I'll just type EG for existing ground, and then I hit this, hit enter, and then it will ask me to specify a point elevation. Okay, for now, I'll just press enter, and it will be at 0 elevation. Okay, so my COGO point will come up as an X marker like this. Okay, and oftentimes if you're just starting out with this, because just now I have did something with this this drawing one, so it directly bring me to this point. But normally you will be zoomed out. Okay, and then when you create, for example, I will delete back this point. When you create this point, you click here, and then you give the description, e.g. enter, elevation, you just leave it at 0, enter. Okay, and then you press escape. Okay, you might not realize where is your point. Okay, but it's actually here. If you double click on your mouse wheel, it will zoom to that particular point. Okay, now I have this one point. I'm going to click on it and take a look at the properties. Okay, that's why if I'm working with Civil 3D, I would like to have the properties tab always on my screen. Okay, I will have the tool space on the left side, and on the right side I have the properties. So when I click on this point, I can see the point number is 3 because I have created a couple before and I delete them. So this came up as number 3, and the raw description is EG, exactly what I have input just now. And then it has a default style and default point label style. Okay, so these two are very important. So the X marker, this is the style. Okay, this X is the style, and this is the default style. If I click here at the be an arrow at the far right, we have a list of styles that we can use. Okay, so this one is actually basic. And then if I change to benchmark, the point will be something like this. If a catch basin, it's like this. Sorry. Okay, and then the list goes on lah. You can try on each style. Okay. Sorry. So if I that is about the style. Sorry. Point label style will be the label for this point. Okay. Now it's set to default, which I believe have no label. So I can change it to maybe description only. So it will show EG here. We can also sorry, put in point, elevation, and also the description. Okay, so we have a list here. I can also put the northing and easting. Okay, and so on. Let's say I'll just leave it to description only. Okay. So that's how you can create points manually. So again, I just go to this create points toolbox, click here, and then click at where you want to place the point. Let's say this is also EG for the description. Enter. Okay. And then there I have another point. Okay. But that will be tiresome to create. Let's say for a land development, you put in the points one by one, right? That will be a very tedious job. So normally what people will do with Civil 3D is they will have set a list of points in text file or CSV file. Okay, so let's take a look at the text file. So I'll just go to my desktop where I have saved this topo survey file. Okay, let's first take a look at it and look at the structure of this file. Okay, in this file, I can see number 1, 2, and 3, 4, and so on. So these are all the points that I have. So if I scroll down, in total, I will have 715 points. Okay. And then you will have, following the number, you will have a comma. And then this will be the northing, comma, followed by the easting, and then followed by the elevation. And this will be the description. Okay. The description that I have put just now manually EG. In this file, it has EP space BEG. So it has a longer description. Okay. So we will need this file. Typically, we will get this file and we will import it in to Civil 3D to have our to have all of the points. Okay. So I will delete the manual points. Okay, so to import those, there's two ways. Okay, you can either do it from the create point toolbox here. On the far right, click at this button, this import points button. So click here. Okay, it will bring up this window, import points. Or if I close this, I could also go to the insert tab, and then under this import panel, click add points from file. As you can see, it brings up the same window, import points. Okay. So what you will do here, you will click at this green arrow. It's a green plus icon. Click on it to add files. So you will browse to the file, and then you have to check the file type. I have the TXT file just now saved on my desktop, but now it's not showing because the type of file that is looking for currently is CSV. Okay, so I can just expand it. Okay, so these are the list of files that can be imported in Civil 3D. So I will text txt. Okay, so now I will find my topo survey file and just click open. Okay, and then here you will have to select to specify the point file format. Okay, there is a list of all the file formats. As we have looked into our file just now, it has a point, northing, easting, elevation, and then description. Okay, so that format is PNEZD. Okay, it's the last one at the bottom, PNEZD. So let's say your text file doesn't have the end raw description, then it will be PNEZ, point, nodding, listing, Z. Z is the elevation. Okay, and then you also have the other formats as well. Okay, but I will use PNEZD. And then as you click here, below it, you will see the preview. Okay, so as you can see here, point number 1, it has the nodding value, easting value, the point elevation, and then the description. Okay, that is good enough. And we can just proceed to click OK. Okay, now it's imported in. I'll just double click on my mouse wheel. Okay, so it will bring us to where the points are created. So if I look at, for example, an individual point, and just select an individual point, look at the properties. So this is point number 4 to 9. The raw description is GS, and it has a default style and default point label style. And of course, I can change this, right? Okay, but let's scroll a bit to the left. Okay, here I have some points where the point style is using a tree style. Okay, tree style, and then it has a point elevation and description label to it. So why for this tree it doesn't show as an X like the rest? Okay, for example, I can also click here and go to the style. I can also change it to a tree. Sorry, and also change it to a tree. Select tree. Right. I've just changed this to a tree. Control Z to undo. Okay. So this style and point label style being applied automatically when we bring it in to our folder because of a thing called description keys. Okay, so basically there is a setting in Civil 3D that has been done where it says for any points that have PR for their raw description, it will use this kind of style. Okay, so let's take a look at that, where we can set that. So from your tool space, if you don't have the tool space, you can go to Home and just click here to activate the tool space. Okay, normally we will dock it on the left of our screen. So from here, you can go to settings and then you expand point. And then, sorry. Okay, point styles. Okay, description key set. Sorry, point style. You can expand here, and then it will have basically the default one, Civil 3D. And right click on it and click edit keys. Okay, yeah, click edit keys. So it will bring up the panorama. This is called a panorama in Civil 3D. And we have a list of few codes, and PR is one of it. Okay. PR is one of it. So PR, as you can see, it has a style of tree, and then the point label style is being set to point elevation and description, and layer, and so on. Okay, so what if I want, let's take a look at the text file. For example, I want all EP to have a certain style and also a certain point label for all points that have EP as their raw description. So what I will do is I will just click at any of the existing code, right click and click new. Okay. So, and then we have the new description key. You just have to rename it to EP, and then you have to include the stuff. Okay, and then at the start, it will be default at first. You have to check it on. Click here, and then it will bring up another box where you will specify the point style. For example, this EP, I will just put a guide pole and click OK. For the point label style, I will put elevation and description. And then click OK. And for the layer, I can click it on and click here. So in Civil 3D, usually it will have quite number of layers created for you from the beginning. So you can just choose any of these. But if you want to create a new layer, you can also click here for new layer, give it the name, the color, line type, and so on. For now, I'll just take this one, for example, and click OK. Okay, so these are the most important things that you need to set in the description set. When you are done, you can click finish here to dismiss it. And then, of course, it's not yet applied. So what you need to do is you go back to the okay, you can either go to the prospector points groups. Okay. Basically, you need to select all. I would just usually do Control A to select all points, and then right click, and then apply description keys. Okay, and then when I zoom into this part of the points, these are the EP points. As you can see, it has a different style, and it also applies a point label style, elevation, and description, exactly how we describe in the description keys. Okay. Another way is from the prospector, you should be able to on the prospector point. Okay, you should be able to apply the description key from the tool space as well. But I think it's easier for you to select all. Just use Control A to select all points, and then you can right click and then apply description keys. Okay, so that's how you can get the different points from the very beginning. Basically, you will set the description key set. It's like a template, so you don't have to go to each of these points to change the point style and point label style. Okay. We have few more minutes. I can also show you how, if you want to create a different style. Okay, So this X marker is basically the default. I mean the basic one. Okay. So you can also create or edit this marker. Okay. From here, if I scroll down, there is create and edit. Or I can also go to from the tool space, go to point style, expand the point style. We have the list of all the point style that we currently have in the drawing. You can just right click here and click new. Okay. So in Civil 3D, for a certain command, basically there are several ways for you to click and achieve it. Okay. So it will bring up this window, point style or new point style. First of all, we go to the information tab. We give it a name. Let's say this will be a fence. So I just put the name fence. And then go to marker. This is where you customize your marker style, your point style. Okay. Here we have few options. We're going to take a look at the use custom marker. So it has certain shapes that you can try on. Okay, basically I click at this plus and we can see the preview has this, and I can also include, for example, a circle. Okay, so you can use all of these shapes to build your new style. Okay, but if this is limited, you can then use AutoCAD block. Okay, so just check on AutoCAD block. So currently, these are the blocks that I have in my drawing. So if it's if you want a more custom style, you will create a block like you would normally do in AutoCAD drawing. Okay, you will use lines, polylines, circle, and everything to create the block first, and then basically you create that block, and that block will appear here. You will just select that. Okay, and then the rest, basically the rest you can set what layer is it on, what kind of color it has, things like that. But most importantly is your marker, and at the information is the name. Okay, let's say I'll just use this marker. I'm using AutoCAD block, and I click OK. All right, so now I can click here. Then from the properties, the style, there will be a new point style called fence. Okay. And if I include also the point label style, okay, so this is GS. Okay, so I hope you learn something valuable about the most basic thing in Civil 3D, which is points. So points, if I can recap, points are the most basic building block in Autodesk Civil 3D. And you will use these points in land development. Basically, you want to build up your topo surface, you will need this point first. Okay. So I hope you learned something valuable. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope to see you guys in the next lessons. Okay. Thank you very much.